In this lecture, we are going to add code that will allow us to save our drawing. So click on the design view, and in the file here, file option here, I'm just going to change this option. I'm going to activate only one of them, the save as. I'll leave the other one. So you can also, if you want to create more menu options, you can, and then just implement the code the same way. So I'm just going to double click on this to give me the skeletal code. So this is the event, the method that will respond to when the button, the save as button, is clicked. What we need to do also, we need to add a save file dialog. So you click on the toolbox, and on the dialogs, there's an option for save file dialogs. So just double click on that, and that should be there. So this is the save file dialog. So we're going to incorporate that into our code so that when the file save as option is pressed, it will reference this dialog. So let me pop back into the code. So this is the code here. So to begin, you type in the save file dialog, and I'm going to set that to the save file So I'm going to create I'm going to reference this save file dialog we just added on, and set that to equal, set a new instance of that variable. To do that, we type in new and then save, type in save file dialog. So we're setting it to equals to that. So this will create a new instance of that. The next thing we want to do, we want to create a variable that will store the various type of file formats that we can save. So to do that, I'll reference this variable again, serve this dialog, and I'll look for a method that we can attach to that. So do a dot or a period on there, and it give you a list of methods you can use. So I'm going to use a filter. There should be one for a filter. There you go. So I'm going to use a filter. I'm going to set that filter to the various type of file formats. I'm going to start with a JPEG. So you can store JPEG. The next one I want to implement after the JPEG. So let me run through the code I have implemented for the save as event handler. So when you do the drawing and you click on save as, it will trigger this piece of code. So I've got a class here called save file dialog, and a variable. This is a variable, and this is a new instance of that variable. Okay, so it will initialize as a new instance. So here, after declaring this variable, I'm using the variable here. I've attached a filter. Okay, it tells you, if you put your mouse over, it tells you what it does. I've attached a filter that will determine what type of files you can save. You can save a JPEG file, a JPEG image file, or anything with an extension of JPG. You could save a bitmap image file, or anything with a .bmp file format. And here again, I'm using the same variable here. I've attached a title string here, so you can see it will come up as save an image file. Give you the option where you try to save. It will come up with this text, save an image file as. And then again here, I'm referencing the same variable and which is this here, and I'm using the show dialog method. This is a method. This method will runs a common dialog box for a default owner. That's what it's telling you here. So this is an inbuilt method I've used here to attach to this variable to show the save as dialog. So when you're trying to save, it will bring up the box that gives you a prompt to save as. I've also implemented an if statement here saying that if this variable, the save as dialog, this variable and the file name is not blank, this exclamation means it's not. So this is a Boolean value saying that if it is not that, if it's, that's what it's saying, it represents a text series, just gives you, if you, it's a kind of like a Boolean string operator. So it's checking for a condition, and the condition is checking for to see if the file name is not empty. Here I'm using the system namespace here and the class FileStream class. I'm giving it a name of FS, and this is what I've passed into the parameter here. And I've also implemented a switch statement, and the expression I'm using to evaluate that switch is this variable and this filter index here. So what this will do, it will check for different conditions before it executes the code. So there are two cases inside the switch statement, and it will execute based on the condition. So this is case one. It will check for the condition and execute this code. If it's a JPEG, if the file you're trying to save is a JPEG, it will execute this code and the code will break out there. Nothing else, it will not execute this. Once it's a JPEG, it will end here. So this break meaning no more execution of the code because it's a JPEG. If, however, the file you're trying to save is a bitmap file, it will jump past this and go to case 2 and execute this piece of code and then break the code. That means break meaning it terminates the code, nothing else will run. All right, so these are the two cases based on the type of file you are trying to save. So that is it. So we should be able to test this now and save. So let's run the application and let's try and do some basic drawing here. So I just say just random stuff. I click on the white button, click on purple, I click on the green, I click on blue, just try different colors, red. All right, let's save the masterpiece. So we'll do file, save as. This is the button the dialog we executed the code for. Click save as, and it should give us this window here. So I just say my Picasso. Notice it's giving me the format of JPEG. So if I save it as JPEG, it will execute the first case in the switch statement. I'll click save and I can now terminate that. If I open up the application, so this is the image I've just saved. So if I double click on it, and there you go. So that's my Picasso. So that's it. In this lecture, we successfully wrote the code that enabled us to save our image. Thanks very much. Bye for now.